I studied Kung Fu growing up my whole life. And then I was, like you said, very involved in music and traveling, and then eventually yoga and meditation. And then I realized as I got deep into meditation that there's a core common denominator throughout all those practices. They're all kind of seeking the same thing, which is a sense of absolute presence. Especially with creativity. You can't really be creative if you're planning to be creative. You can prepare for it, but the creative process really only happens like it happens in meditation when you let go of everything and you just allow the flow of it to propel the work forward. Same thing with martial arts. You prepare for it, and then when you're sparring, all of the preparing kind of comes together. You forget everything and you're just in the motion of it. With meditation, same thing. You're kind of parsing through all your thoughts until you come into this place of infinity, right? And in that emptiness or that fullness, you can find something more profound than all of these masks, as you were saying, because it is really easy to become a proxy to your surroundings or a proxy to your circumstances. For me, the biggest change in my life when it came to letting go of all those things and started to show up as who I am into all those rooms, the church or the party, came through meditation and really starting to create a little bit of distance between what I observed deep in my meditation and the thoughts that were surrounding it, right? And eventually, as you start to carve pathways to that place of stillness, that place of quiet, that place that feels a bit more like home, the deeper the relationship gets to that. And then you start to see all the other relationships for what they are, whether that the relationship is to an addiction, to people, to work, to lifestyle. You start to see it out there as opposed to seeing it like right here. That whole metaphor of looking at a painting from up close and not being able to really see it until you step back from it. It's the same thing with meditation. You're taking a step back from the painting of your life kind of thing, right? And then, that's just the beginning. Because then what do you do with that information? Okay, I have that. It's kind of like, you go do an ayahuasca experience or some sort of spiritual journey. You have this insane experience, but what do you do with it? And that process is the one that takes a little bit longer because it's like digesting a whole bunch of new information. Right, it's digesting a whole new way of looking at yourself, and like any sort of digestion, it takes a little bit of time, but the work is almost done automatically. You just have to kind of trust it. So what that's taught me is process is important. Whether you're doing a piece of art, whether you're starting a martial art, whatever you're starting a relationship, the process in and of itself is where all the key information comes to how to be in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm curious, like in that sense, I know this is a common theme in spiritual circles, but that there is no destination, there is no outcome, and I'm curious if the focus is on the process. Like, is the process the goal? Is the process the destination? Is there somewhere that the process is proceeding us to?
Yeah, I think the biggest. I in 2011 I got really really sick, and I've shared this story before. I had Crohn's disease and I ended up in the hospital. I almost died. I was in there for like 6 months, and that started a really beautiful relationship and a very intimate relationship with the concept of death.
Mm.
Because sometimes we forget that we're going to die, but reminding yourself of that, and not only reminding yourself, because it brings up a lot of fear in the West, especially when you have kids. Like, I kind of let go of my fear of death until I had kids, because then you got to like, oh, I got to be around them. But this almost dying, and then spending a lot of time in places like Varanasi in India, which is a place where spiritual pilgrimage that people go to die, because they think that when they die there, they go into Purusha or Nirvana, like heaven, if they die in Varanasi. And having said that, when you go there, you can feel there's like a fog, like a fog quality to the air in that place. It feels like death. So it's very intense when you go the first time. I've been there like 7 times. First time I went, I could only be there for like 2 days because it just felt so unnerving. But then you can't stop thinking about the place, and then it kind of, you start to yearn for that place. And it's this, I think, idea of, you start to dissolve this fear of death. Once you start to dissolve that fear of death, it becomes very natural, but it also gives you a lot of lessons about life. When you can really identify death for what it is, you can really understand a bit more about the meaning of your own life. And the true meaning of your own life is really kind of that it's meaningless. Like, you're going to die anyways. Well, why not make the best of it? Why not be fully invested in what you're doing? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, so that's been a real gift for me, to let go so much of the outcome and get a little bit more invested in the process, because the outcome doesn't really matter. In the end, it's going to be gone anyways. I don't know if that answers a bit of your question, but in the sorry, just one last thing. In the process of mastering anything, what you're actually mastering is yourself. Whether you're mastering an art, whether you're mastering writing, whether you're mastering, it's the ability to focus and the ability to have that thing that you're mastering be a reflection of yourself. It really teaches you about who you are, no matter what it is that you're mastering, I think.